I was absolutely thrilled and delighted to be invited to make a contribution to the Ode to Burns, or as we say colloquially in the halls of Westminster, a Rabbi night. Yes, the old boys do like a malt whiskey. I say this affectionately, as I do feel particularly Scottish. Yes, thank you for your interest and support, and just like Madonna, you are right, my dear, I have reinvented myself. Not many people know this, but dear Dennis, my late husband, and I honeymooned in the Scottish Highlands and Perthshire, and for many years after this, when I would be working late at the Common, I would turn my key in the door at our little flat in Pimlico. This is, of course, before the days of number 10. I would hear Dennis whistling. You take the high road, and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland abide. Yes, girl, I knew exactly what was on the card. No ballot boxes that night. Yes, Rabbit had an influence in romance, south of the border, and much, much further afield. But you know, I do have many reasons for visiting Scotland. Yes, the rumor is true. I have been sent to keep an eye on Alex Salmon and check out the new cafe facilities at Hollywood. Apparently, the smoked salmon is far superior and quite delicious to that at Westminster. The greedy bugger wants all the smoked salmon, oil revenue, and business acquisitions for himself, and the Royal Bank, where he can have it. I'm not sure how much the Scottish people will benefit. I do hope young Cameron is up to the job and can convince his Scottish cousins to unite for a stronger Britain. But what about Burns? What would he have thought of SNP, the politics and policies of Scotland today? When I visited Queen at Windsor recently, yes, I still get invited for tea, she expressed her concern over the Scottish referendum and her great love of the Scottish people. She said, "You know, Maggie, now that dearest Mama has passed on, Philip and I think of you as a dear friend. Will you keep an eye on the Scottish Parliament?" I was quite touched. Without hesitation, I replied, "It would be my honor to do this." Maggie, my biggest concern about the referendum is the change in fiscal policy and arrangements and the introduction of a separate currency. What if Raggie's face were to appear instead of mine on all the notes and coinage? I hesitated. What indeed, I said. I was lost for words, as one can imagine. She said, "You know, Maggie, when you were in office during the 80s, Philip and I used to think you were more raw than we are." And I said, "Well, Your Majesty, my father, Councillor Roberts, did wear his chain of office to breakfast. He was the Mayor of Grantham." She said, "I didn't know that," and tittered with laughter. "The Queen knows everything, believe me." She does have a wicked sense of humor, and I did reply, "I do feel particularly comfortable in royal circles. Yes, I think we've earned it." Her Majesty went on to say, "Maggie, what about all this celebrity business? Sometimes when I wake up, I feel quite confused. I say to Philip, I don't know if I'm Helen Mirren or myself." I said, "I feel exactly the same. Is it Meryl Streep or is it me? I think we do it much better, ma'am, don't you?" Now the big question must be, would a man of independent mind thought this day would ever have arrived in Scotland? And what bracket of politics would we put Burns in? Most people think of Burns as a left-wing activist, but I think not. No, Burns was a social reformer, just like me, Charles Dickens and Shakespeare. He took life by the throat, the pleasure and the pain, and painted his canvas in print, verse, and song. And the ladies can testify to that. He loved them all shapes and sizes, all classes. He left Dinarma with 2 babies and tried to escape to the West Indies, and the Kirk painted him as being a fornicator. Perhaps this is where Burns gets a bit of the cold shoulder from the younger ladies. Yes, I do see him as a bit of a philanderer, of course, but I'm quite okay with this. It's normal at Westminster. But how would Burns have coped with feminism? Well, he did touch on this with Clarinda. He didn't get all his own way. One might say it was an academic affair. His experience in the literary circles and romance was equally as controversial. He fled back to Glasgow from the literary circles and without consummating his union with Clarinda in 1791. He wrote, "A fond kiss and my love is like a red, red rose," 2 of the most beautiful, poignant songs in his repertoire. Burns lived life to the full in what could only be described as difficult economic times, with the move away from agriculture to industry, limited transport, no electric light, and more importantly, no contraception. But did this stop him writing, dreaming, and debating the economic climate, politics, and more importantly, romancing? All of these activities would be the template of his life's works, which we are lucky enough to celebrate here this evening. He experienced the predicament of life in less comfortable surroundings than we share today, and is significant that Burns touches the hearts of many cultures around the world, and this is borne out when Scots travel to the far corners of the planet, where the moment you mention Scotland, immediately the association of Burns is warmly embraced. And with this in mind, we should celebrate his life and works, remembering the stirring of his political thought for the ordinary man and woman, just like you and me, and how this has been translated through centuries to have such an impact that politicians recognize the importance of an independent mind, whether in political storm or calmer waters, whether Tory, Labour, or Lib Dem, that lot. I give you the independent mind, Ravi Burns.
Margaret Thatcher recognized the genius as well. And I'm going to do a few songs here, and I think it gives you the contrast of his genius. This first one, Man's a Man, in 5 verses he sums up Scotland and the ordinary Scots and how they lived during these times. Is there for honest poverty that hangs its heat and all that the coward slave we pass him by with all be pure for all that and all
Okay.
And he wrote this, it gives you a view into his mind. He wrote this when he was at Miller's wedding. So this is about the lasses, of course, and it's about their petticoat tails and they are the bridesmaids. So watch out, the bridesmaids. And here he is once again romancing. Once you begin to study his work, and as the path of life grows older, you realize everything he's written about has happened, and it's worth more than consideration. Even Maggie thought it. Thank you.